Imagine waking up every day knowing one swab of DNA could answer the question that's haunted you since childhood, while the most famous man in hip-hop won't even acknowledge you exist. That's Rymir Satterthwaite's reality, 31 years old, armed with a mother's dying confession and a paper trail of lawsuits, still chasing a single yes or no from Sean Jay-Z Carter. A judge finally says, respond by this date, and suddenly the quiet whispers explode in industry side eyes. If he's right, one test threatens a billion-dollar brand built on family and excellence. If he's wrong, he becomes the guy who took a swing at a dynasty and missed. So how did a teenage fling in the early 90s morph into a Supreme Court plea in 2025? And why is Beyoncé reportedly rearranging chapters of a memoir because of it? Rymir didn't conjure this story out of thin air. His mother, Wanda, told him for years that when she was just 15, she crossed paths with a 20-something Jay-Z back when he wasn't yet a mogul, just a hustler turned rapper clawing his way out of Brooklyn. Wanda carried that secret until a heart attack took her at 45. Before she died, she repeated it. Sean Carter is your father. Not for money, not for fame. Just so her son knew where he came from. Rymir says he never chased a payout, he just wanted truth. That alone doesn't fit the usual gold digger template people love to toss around. Most secret kid scandals burn out because the money motive is obvious. This one lingers because the claim sits in the one place you can't buy your way out of biology, but biology needs proof. Proof needs courts. And courts, as Rymir learned, can hide truth behind technicalities. Roll back to 2010, a Pennsylvania judge orders genetic testing for 3 people, Jay-Z, Rymir, and Robert. The man Wanda put on the birth certificate after reconnecting with her high school boyfriend. The results? Robert isn't the dad. Jay-Z never shows, doesn't sign, doesn't test, doesn't blink. Case dismissed for lack of response. 2 years later, New Jersey. New case. New hope. Jay's legal team argues the court lacks jurisdiction. He supposedly has no ties to Jersey. Tossed. Rymir's lawyers appeal. Whip out tax filings and deed records for a Sean Carter in the state. Jay's attorney backpedals she misspoke about the no ties claim, but insists this paperwork could be another Sean Carter entirely. Believe it or not, that works. Another dismissal by 2014. Rymir tries again, same result. Now, civil rights heavyweights, NAACP, ACLU, start peeking in because something smells off. Fast forward. Rymir petitions the New Jersey Supreme Court to unseal documents all the way back to 2012. 10 plus years of dodges, clerical tricks, and jurisdiction gymnastics. Every courtroom door slammed on a detail, not a DNA strand, and every slam echoes louder online, which is when 2 professional loudspeakers crank the volume to max. 50 Cent treats celebrity scandal like cardio. He does it every day and barely breaks a sweat. So when Buzz drops that, a judge demanded Jay-Z respond to a paternity suit by July 18th. He posts it with the glee of a man who loves watching kings stumble. Nicki Minaj doesn't sit it out either. She boosts the story, drops a "To God Be the Glory," and drags up a long-standing gripe, money she claims Jay owes her from her Roc Nation affiliation. She even joked, or not, about using 100 to 200 million of that owed cash to pay fans' college fees. This isn't random, they both have layered history with Hav. 50 felt snubbed by the industry gatekeeping he thinks Jay embodied. Nicki's beef is more personal, contracts, percentages, that feeling of being underpaid by a machine run by men in suits. So when Jay's marble floor cracks, they're there with crowbars. But while the memes fly, one name trends quietly under the noise: Beyoncé. And the whispers say she's not laughing, she's strategizing. If there's one thing Beyoncé controls with surgical precision, it's her narrative. Albums drop without leaks. Performances are rehearsed until the air in the room is choreographed. The rumor mill says she's been chronicling her life for over a decade. Journals, hard drives, voice memos, assembling a memoir that could eclipse even Lemonade in rawness. Now add a potential love child to the list of elephants already in the room. Jay's admitted infidelity, Solange versus Jay in that elevator, the quiet years, the reconciliations. Sources murmur that she's either accelerating her book to seize control of the story or delaying it to avoid looking reactive. Either way, it means this case just messed with the timeline of one of the most meticulously managed brands on earth. She's reportedly furious, not just at Jay, but at the noise, the timing, the breach of silence. Because every day Jay refuses a swab is a day Beyoncé's public image has to hold up a tottering wall. Which raises the question, why not just swab, settle, silence? Because sometimes a cotton swab is actually C4. Let's talk stakes, not gossip. If Rymir's mom really was 15 and Jay was 22, then this isn't just about you are the father. It edges into territory nobody's team wants to litigate in public. Words start trending. People dig up age of consent laws and you don't get to hide behind "it was the 90s" forever. Criminal charges might be blocked by time limits, but sponsorships don't care about statutes. The NFL trusted Roc Nation to curate its halftime show to make black culture corporate-friendly and controversy-safe. Imagine the Shield's reaction if "possible underage affair" becomes a headline they're linked to. That's not halftime entertainment, that's crisis management. Legacy is another layer. Jay built an empire on hustler honesty. I sold drugs. I made it out. I became a mogul. He talks about generational wealth, about stacking wins for his kids. If a secret son cracks that myth, it changes the conversation from self-made success to what did he bury to protect it, and who else watches? Artists on Roc Nation, business partners, politicians, the NFL, even the Carter twins when they grow older in Google. That's a lot of collateral, so the just take the test chorus misses something. In chess, the obvious move can be the losing one, but what if refusing the move is worse? Meanwhile, the internet is hosting its own trial. One group says, he knows. Why else dodge for a decade? He tried to gag the kid, pressured witnesses, threw liens on houses. Guilty men stall. They point to Wanda's final statement, the negative DNA, with the man in old photos, the consistent story Rymir tells. The other side rolls eyes. This is a man with a wife, 3 kids, and a clean household brand. Why should he let anyone claiming to be his offspring yank him into tabloid hell? Rich black families aren't allowed to be stable without someone trying to cash in. They toss around words like clout chasing and fake son, painting Rymir as delusional or opportunistic. What almost nobody considers, if he's wrong, his life is basically over in the court of public opinion. No one forgets the guy who faked being Jay-Z's kid. He gets smeared, memed, and probably harassed off the internet. If he's right, he still doesn't get a fairy tale. He gets a father who never wanted him, a stepmother who's furious, and siblings introduced under scandal. He might get money or acknowledgement, but he also inherits a war. Either way, he's paying a price most of us wouldn't survive, and his deadline keeps ticking. Because when that lab paper finally prints, one of 2 movies starts rolling. Scenario 1, you are the father. The internet combusts. Jay-Z's PR machine shifts into DEFCON 1. First comes a carefully worded statement, we are navigating private family matters with respect, but you can't PR numbers. Lawyers talk settlement, NDAs, quiet trusts. Every brand Jay touches, Armand de Brignac champagne, title, even if he sold majority. Roc Nation Sports faces a press cycle. Ops pop champagne, Drake drops subliminals. 50 posts every hour. Nicki either gloats or drops lyrics directly aimed. Lawsuits cluster. Civil cases from others who think they have claims, opportunists pretending they do. Think about how the Diddy dominoes fell once one accusation landed. The industry smelled blood and everyone talked. Now imagine that energy around Jay, who's been relatively clean since the early 2000s, stabbed Un Rivera era. The conversation turns. Did success sanitize him, or did the machine cover for him? Beyonce's chessboard gets tricky too. Does she stand by him publicly because family unity sells, or pull away to salvage her own narrative? She already turned marital pain into art once. Could she do it again, or does this feel like the last straw? And if she does leave, is it an admission she knew, or a statement she won't carry his baggage anymore? Either path feeds tabloids for years. Scenario 2, it's quieter but maybe crueler. Let's say the DNA says nope, the swab's clean, science shrugs, and Jay walks out vindicated. What happens then? Rymir becomes that guy, the clout chaser, the liar, the kid who dragged a family for attention. Blogs mock him, hate mail floods in. The civil rights groups who peeked in step back like we were just asking questions. His mother's final words get brushed off as confusion or manipulation. He still doesn't know his father. He still doesn't get closure. And he's saddled with the world's most humiliating oops. Jay, in contrast, emerges with even thicker armor. He didn't even need to speak. The courts and science did it for him. Fans who defended Rymir move on without apologizing. Fans who defended Jay act like they were right all along. And the weird part? The whole saga still stains the Carter name in a subtle way, because even false allegations leave residue. That's the cynicism of celebrity culture. People remember the scandal, not the correction, but the permanent fallout sticks harder to the powerless, and in this case, that's Rymir. So which ending do you root for when both bleed? To really get why this story hits so hard, you have to understand the empire it threatens. Jay-Z didn't just make hits, he made institutions. Rockefeller Records in '95, the 40/40 Club, Roc Nation in 2008, a management and label hybrid that signed everyone from Rihanna to J. Cole, a streaming service, Tidal, he pitched as artist-owned, a partnership with the NFL in 2019, positioning himself as the curator of hip-hop's biggest stage. Billionaire status by 2019 according to Forbes, 3 kids with the most famous black woman in music, the narrative, a hustler turned mogul, family man, culture shaper. When that's your brand, a secret son isn't just a scandal, it's a crack in the statue. People won't just ask whether he cheated, they'll question whether he built truth on a lie. And if there's one commodity richer than champagne in Jay's life, it's the Carter myth. That's why people keep watching, why every new court filing becomes a headline. It's not really about child support. It's about whether a modern black dynasty is bulletproof or brittle. There's also history here with accusations Jay survived. In the 90s and early 2000s, his name floated in stories that never stuck. A stabbing incident in 1999? He took a plea. The Big Pimpin' sample lawsuit settled whispered affairs. He answered with 444. Admitting to infidelity but framing it as redemption. He's weathered storms by either lawyering up or turning pain into product. This one's different because he can't finesse DNA, it's binary. And binary terrifies people whose life depends on shades of gray. Meanwhile, the culture around him shifted post-Me Too, post-Diddy raids, audiences demand receipts. Fans who once said, mind your business, now say, believe survivors. Even if Rymir isn't a survivor of a crime, he's pitching himself as a survivor of denial, a different kind of harm that lands in 2025 differently than it would have in 2005. Back then, this might have been a gossip blog post, now it's a potential Netflix doc, which brings us back to the moment we're in. A judge allegedly telling Jay to respond, a Supreme Court filing in New Jersey, a famous wife fuming, a son exhausted, and a culture ready to devour either outcome. So here we stand, a chessboard with too many queens, a courtroom clock ticking, and a billion eyes waiting to see a cotton swab decide a legacy. Maybe Jay's protecting more than money, maybe it's the precedent. If every claim demands a DNA test, does that open the floodgate for scammers? Or is refusing the test a flex too far? Maybe Rymir's chasing a ghost clinging to his mother's last words, because the alternative, that she was wrong, hurts more than public humiliation. Maybe Beyoncé's rumored memoir is her exit plan, or her insurance policy. Maybe 50 and Nicki are just having fun watching chaos they didn't have to cause. Maybe this is all smoke, or the start of a wildfire. You don't need my verdict, you need to decide yours. Should a man in Jay's position be forced to swab, or does he have the right to say no forever? Is Rymir brave for fighting this long, or reckless for not letting go? Does protecting a black family legacy mean shielding it from every claim or facing the ugliest truths head on? Drop your take. DNA test or DNA dodge? Where do you land? Hit that like button if you're here for the stories. Wish would vanish. Subscribe because the next scandal's already brewing, and go watch the next video. This industry never sleeps. Not when there's blood in the water and $1 billion name on the line.